Well, hello there. Welcome to my kitchen. It's Jacqueline. Camera's a little crooked. Let's get this straightened out. Let me know when you're in here. I'm really excited about today's cooking class because I'm going to be doing something that has a product that's, I don't know, a recipe maybe is a better word to say, a recipe that's really intimidated me for many, many years. So, hey Linda, nice to see you here. All right, so what am I gonna make? I'm gonna make polenta. I have been so nervous about making polenta over the years, and I love to cook. So this is really, really strange to me why I was so frightened, and I actually did a test on this. You are going to love this because I didn't know if I would because of my nerves. So we have just recently launched the creamy polenta, and so it's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to tell some fun food facts. Well, this goes into the microwave. You're welcome, Linda. Yes, that was the big intimidation for me. Is I had heard that when you make polenta, you just want to buy it because you're going to be in trouble. You're going to burn it. It's going to stick. You're going to have to spend hours in the time cooking and cleaning. And it wasn't anything that I was even remotely interested in. So I am making this today for you so you understand how easy this recipe is. That was water, by the way, and milk. And the instructions I will put onto my website because I used half the product. As you know, I'm not going to tell you to make something unless I've tasted it and I know it's really, really good. And it's really, really good. So how easy is this? It actually says to put it in a round steamer, but because I'm using half the quantity, I needed to find a alternate version. So this is our piano wire whisk, and I would recommend that you have a whisk because otherwise you're just going to be chasing this all the way around. And it's basically some flavoring with cornmeal, and we just want to make sure that we've got it all mixed up. We don't have any sort of lumps and it's wet. And then I'm going to throw it into the microwave. So how easy is this? And then I'll explain how this all works. I'll be right back. Give me a second. I don't want to spill it. Let's get my door open to the microwave. We've got a lid on it. All right. So where did this all come from? Okay, the recipe that I'm doing. Hi, Andrea. Nice to see you as well. I actually saw this recipe in a wine magazine, and if you guys ever look, I don't know if you look through magazines or cookbooks or whatever, and you see these really, really nice meals, but then you look at the instructions and they're this long and it's ridiculous. Well, I saw this and was back in the spring. I didn't know we were coming out with polenta at the time, but it was a recipe that really intrigued me, but I didn't know if I'd ever make it. Well, I'm making it today because Epicure has made this so darn easy. And so it's a polenta board that we're making today. And we're going to chop it because that's the beauty of polenta is it is basically a vehicle or a base, maybe is the better word, seeing I am in the kitchen. A base for you to put anything you want. So if you were doing like a pasta sauce, you could put it on top. If you're maybe making Swedish meatballs, which is, I already made half of it, and I'm going to be doing a recorded cooking on our Swedish meatballs over top of polenta. You could maybe put savory things like mushrooms, like I'm going to do today. But back in history, I mean, anything goes. Bolognese was a good one. So today we're going to do mushrooms, but I'm going to do a fun little crunchy little thing happening here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making like a little crumble because this is going to be something fancy. So for those of you who want to do entertaining, maybe this is for you. For those of you who want to do entertaining and it not cost a lot, then this is for you. For those of you who just want to make polenta, then you don't maybe need to fuss with the extras that I'm doing. But I just sort of thought it might be nice to have a nice glass of wine with my husband tonight because I am going to be leaving for a trip out to the east and thought it might be really good for me to maybe spend a little time with him. So, all right. So this is our staple. This is our minced garlic. And I'm going to grab my 4-in-1 spoon. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put half a teaspoon of our minced garlic. I want some good flavor going on in there. And what this crumble is going to do is we're going to just basically saute some pine nuts. Okay, you don't have to use pine nuts. My assistant was talking, saying use walnuts. It's much cheaper, and it would be much cheaper. I don't have any walnuts in the house. I always have pine nuts though, because I love pesto. So just put any kind of nuts. Walnuts would be excellent in this. And we're going to heat this up. We're going to be putting as well our crispy crunchy coatings. So we're making like a little brown crumble. We're gonna brown this up a bit. So I'm using half a package of that. And just so you know, if you're using half a package, make sure that you get a felt pan on here and note that there's half a recipe left in here so that you can use it for another project. I'm actually going to be using the other half of the crispy crunchy coating to make my Swedish meatballs, which will be a recorded cooking class coming up in the very near future. I also wanted to put a little bit of a zip to this. You could use lemon juice if you'd prefer, but it would make it quite watery. So I'm just going to grate a little bit of lemon zest on here just to brighten it up a bit, because I did say we were using mushrooms. And to me it sounds polenta, which is sort of like a, I don't know, like a potato kind of flavoring. It doesn't have a lot of flavoring. It'll be whatever you put in it. But with the mushrooms, it's quite heavy with the sauce that I'm going to be making with it. So yes, little fancy, easy dish for you. So a little bit of lemon in there, and we're just gonna brown this a little bit. Be very careful you don't burn it, but we're just gonna toast this a little bit and get that flavoring happening here. The last thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of 3 onion. So put a whole tablespoon of that in there. And that's basically all my onion. I was watching actually, I don't know if she's on. Anne, if you're on, don't laugh. But my girlfriend Anne was calling me because she found out that I'm a thief. I actually was invited overnight to her house, and when I left, I took her sunglass case, or it was our eyeglass case actually, because we have the same glass case, and I thought it was mine. Needless to say, I had 2 of them, and she only had 1, and now I'm known as a thief. So I'm calling her out because she was cutting up onions the other day and was crying. And I just kept thinking, now if she just had this, it would have been so much easier. Okay, you can probably hear my microwave going off. So let me go grab that polenta. Turn this down. Okay, so normally when you make polenta, it requires you stirring and stirring and stirring, making sure that it does not burn. Remember I said I don't want to do polenta if I have to clean like crazy. So I have this in the microwave. I put this in for, well, because I'm using half the recipe, but it only takes about 5 minutes. And as you can see, it's already thickening up, but not totally thick. We need to, at this point, grab your saute spoon and make sure you don't have any lumps. Okay, so just sort of squish it down, because there's always hot spots in a microwave, and we want to have a nice universal, creamy, decadent polenta. Wouldn't you think that that was wise? Okay, so now that we've got this sort of broken down, we're not done yet. So we've got to work with our mushrooms. Take this off the burner now. Set this aside here. Okay, so I'm going to now add an additional bit of milk. And you can use any kind of milk you want, and a tablespoon of butter. Oops, make my kitchen a real mess. And we're gonna put this back into the microwave again. And this is when we're actually going to cook it. If your butter is a solid clump like mine was, you may want to break it up a little bit. It will sort of blend, but if you just put it on the counter for a minute or 2, it should soften it up enough. So now it goes back into the microwave. The directions, oops, here it is. So easy. It says remove, stir it up, add your butter, microwave uncovered now for 10 minutes. So let's stick this back in to the microwave. Because I'm using half the recipe, it only took 8. I was checking it, making sure that I didn't overdo it. Okay, next part, let's get our mushrooms going. So I've got my saute pan cooking here, and while that 8 minutes is going, we're gonna heat up a little bit of oil in here, and we're gonna make a really nice, creamy mushroom on top. Remember I said I was gonna make like a board? So this is how it's going to work. So let's just grab. Okay, we've got the oil heating up a bit. I can probably turn this a smidge so you can see it a little bit better. And if you've got shallots or red onions, it's sort of nice just to add those in there. And we're going to just sweat those down a little bit. We're also going to add the mushrooms. It's heating up now nicely. Perfect. Okay, so when you go to the grocery store, a lot of times mushrooms, you can just buy what you need. So what I did here is I had 1 cremini mushroom. I saw some button mushrooms, so I thought that would look really entertaining, and I just cut them in half. And then they had some shiitake mushrooms. And all these you can, at my store anyway, you can just buy as many or as little as you want. She was having such a hard time charging me for the price of the shiitake because I only had such a few, but I just thought it would be nice interest for the flavorings of this. So we'll just let this cook a little bit. Now we need to add some seasoning to this. And of course, one of the ones that would be really good, sort of like a wintry kind of feel with the mushrooms, would be a rosemary garlic seasoning. Yum. I love this. This just to me screams like Italy, right? I love the Italian flavors, that rich thickness. So we're going to put our spoon back in here, and I'm going to put 1 teaspoon. I should show you, it's quite a fine grind, but that's going to give me lots and lots of flavor, because that polenta, which is on the bottom, really doesn't have much flavor at all. So we'll let this sweat a little bit. Now we need some liquid, but I want to get this browning. So let's give you some fun food facts about polenta. Have any of you made polenta before? Let me know, please, Marilyn or Erica or JC or Linda. Because I know, like I said, I was really intimidated to make this, but it is part of our new catalog. And I thought, why not just try it? Steamers are made for polenta. I don't know which came first. If they had the steamers, I guarantee that this would be one of the easiest meals to make. It was actually a peasant meal. It goes back, okay, Linda, thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that was afraid to make it, because I've been intimidated, sort of like risotto, because polenta is sort of like an Italian risotto maybe, where you have to sit there and stir. As you can see, it's effortless. I just threw it in the microwave and it's just doing its own little magic in there. So anyway, it goes back to the early days in Rome, and it was, polenta basically means peeled barley. So this was actually basically a whole bunch of grains, whatever grains they could really find, and that's what they used in ancient Roman times to feed the military, and it was very economical, and it was basically like porridge. Now, Christopher Columbus comes into the picture in the 1492, right? And he brings back to Italy corn. So polenta maybe came from the Aztecs or the Mayans, because they had been making porridge with corn forever, but the Italians are grabbing this, saying that they've created polenta. And basically, they changed the barley to corn, and that's where we come with polenta. Now, polenta is so popular in the northern part of Italy, the central and northern part of Italy, that people, there's actually a name for people who eat polenta all the time. I think they're called polentatoni or polentatonis. So basically polenta eaters. And I am so sorry that I didn't do this class a couple days ago because on October the 9th, it was National Polenta Day. Well, so I'm a few days late. Whatever. Better late to the party than not invited at all. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a little bit of a sauce for our mushrooms. I want it to thicken up quite a bit, so I'm just going to put a little bit of water in here, but I don't want plain water. We're going to put in a nourish broth, and unfortunately I really wanted to put our better than beef broth in here, but it hasn't shown up yet. It's on its way. So I'm going to put a chicken base, which is our nourish broth. So I'm going to put a couple teaspoons. I love putting any of our broths in with sauces. I just find it enhances the flavor immensely. All right, so we're going to get that cooking down a bit. And now to thicken this up, I'm going to put a little bit of half and half in here. We can sprinkle on a little bit of SPG if you've got that. And if you don't have SPG, maybe you want to do just a little bit of salt. And again, with the flavor, we already put, remember with our mushrooms, we already put the rosemary and garlic in there. So just keep this heated up so it's becoming a sauce. You'll notice that there's not a lot of liquid in here, but this should thicken up. If you're finding that because you're using a lighter milk and it's not thickening, if you wanted, you could put a little bit of cornstarch. Just mix a little bit of cornstarch with water to thicken it really quickly. Okay, so let me grab my goodies. Let me clean up my mess here. I'm going to show you the board that I'm going to put this on. So to make it fun for my husband and I've got a charcuterie board. So if you don't have a charcuterie board, you could use any plate that you want. My polenta is almost done. I'm going to be excited to show you that. And we're going to get this plated right away. The other thing, as soon as that's out, the other thing that I'm going to add, just to get a little bit of color in here is, hi Sylvie, all the way from, I don't know, are you in Belgium still? Anyway, I've got a little bit left over of broccoli. I'm still going to use some more for dinner tonight, but I just stole a little bit and I cut it into fine little flowerets. I'm going to steam this just for a minute. It just needs to just have a quick little zip on that, and that's going to add some color to this board. Okay, so you can see this sauce is going really good. And remember that polenta, when it's coming out, it's going to be hopefully like mashed potatoes. 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, it's done. Let me go grab that. How easy was that? So far, so good. Broccoli's in. Okay, so this is how I pulled it right out of the microwave. Look at this, rich, creamy, and the texture that you want. The thing about polenta is you can make it quite thick or quite runny, really depending on how long you cook it. I wanted it to sort of be like a mashed potato. So you can see, and it's going to get a little bit thicker as it cools down. So I don't want to overcook it. I found that for me, what I'm doing today, about 8 minutes is about perfect. So I'm just stirring it right now just to get this cooled down quickly. Normally I would probably let it cool down quite a bit before I put it on my tray. So let's see right now, because I don't want it putting it on my wood tray and it making a real mess, if you know what I mean. So what does polenta taste like? Well, it's corn, so it really doesn't have a lot of flavor. You could put flavor on it, but traditionally what they do is put lots of different kinds of sauces over top. I already mentioned like bolognese, but here's some crazy information. If you can believe, they used to serve little birds on top of polenta until the World Wildlife Fund came in and said, no, you're not killing those little birds. Like, we're talking like robin redbreasts and woodpeckers and nightingales. So yeah, isn't that crazy? Ooh, yeah. So anyway, I do believe that it's still happening in the northern part, but it's sort of like, don't tell anyone what we're doing, because it is historical for those Italians. So we're gonna take our polenta. I don't know if you can see, I think you can. And we're just going to scoop it onto this board. Now, and as I said earlier, like if you were making polenta from the past and intimidated like maybe I was and Linda was about I'm not making polenta, you may have seen that there was polenta in the store in these, they look like sausages, these plastic containers that are big and bulky and look really unappealing, like really unappealing. Yeah, I wasn't gonna do that. Yeah, so anyway, I had to make this because I just thought it was a really good idea and a plan. So as you can see, this is super steamy hot. Okay, my little, well, let's just grab a different spoon here. Fine. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some of my mushrooms with the sauce. And what you can do is just sort of, you know, play around with it, lay them out so it sort of looks pretty. We're gonna put the sauce over top once we've got our mushrooms the way we want them. Remember, I've got the broccoli. Remember how I said I wanted to put some broccoli in here because it just, the color would be like just sort of like bland. We're gonna also put some, if you had parsley would be really awesome for you to put some parsley on top when you're all finished. I think I've cooked a little bit too much mushroom, but that's okay. Can you ever have too much mushroom when it's sauteed? I don't think so. All right. Okay. I'm gonna put some of my sauce on here now. And remember, as this gets cooler, it's going to, you know, be sort of like mashed potatoes. You know, when you make mashed potatoes and they just get hard and starchy. That's how this will end up being, which is why if you have this extra sauce, it's sort of nice to put on it. You can serve this with a little bit of crackers, or you can put some veg on here. All right, and let me go get the broccoli, which I steamed for a minute. You saw how the minimal amount I had on there. So perfectly green. Again, I didn't have to add any liquid, but it's just perfect. Not over crunchy, but has that little bit of a kick, and it's got that nice, beautiful green spring color. And you can see like how you can just use some basic things in your house to make something so simple like a peasant's porridge and just raise the bar by just thinking out of the box. Honestly, I know my girlfriend Kelly came over here, gosh, I guess it was last fall. And the other day she asked me, she says, I've got a dinner function I've got to go to. Remember when I was at your house and I bought the candy jams? And she said, you made that really nice muffin thing. Well, you know how many recipes I create. I'm like, muffin thing. And then I said, oh, you mean when I just put the candy jams in a muffin or silicone muffin maker and baked them and then put toothpicks in it and served it for you guys when you came to my cooking class at my house? And she said, yeah, I need the recipe. So I gave it to her. She actually told me the other day, she said, my dish was the best dish. I had all these people asking me for the recipe. Honestly, Epicure just makes it so simple. So there you go. The last thing we're going to do, I had done these little crumbs. So the crumb mixture, you can just sprinkle on top now. Remember I said I took it off the stove so it didn't get too brown. We're just gonna sprinkle this on top. And this, of course, as I mentioned, had the crispy, crunchy coating. It has the flavor of the pine nuts. I might just have a little bit more over here. So there you go, my fine friends. What do you think? Isn't this crazy, easy, amazing? And for those of you who have never tried polenta, I am going to do a taste test so you can see my face on this. It is so darn good. It is creamy. It tastes better than potatoes because it actually has some cheese flavoring in here. It is decadent, it's delicious, and it's not your peasant meal. We've just brought this to a whole new level where you can actually serve this with your friends. I would put some veggies maybe to this, cucumbers. If you wanted, you could put a little bit of tomatoes on here if you wanted to make it more Italian looking with the green and the red. But I do really want you to try this. It is so good, and never be intimidated by polenta ever again. Game changer epicure with our fabulous product and our steamers. So come back next Thursday when I'm going to be sharing another cooking class. I can hardly wait to eat this. Sorry. But yeah, my husband better get it home quick. And if you are doing this as an appetizer or whatever, yes, sun-dried tomatoes, 100%. That would be fabulous, Sylvie. Serve it with a red wine, like a Pinot Noir. Totally would be awesome. So thanks everyone for popping in and watching, and come back next week because I'm going to be making another dish with one of our new products. Remember, our taste of the season, which has all our new products together, is only here for a very short time. In fact, I think it leaves the line middle of the month. I'm going to say the 16th. I don't have my date in front of me. But if you're wanting to have one of each of these just so you can try it, please go onto the website and get the taste of the season. So again, thank you. Wish you all the best, and come back again. Love to support you in making meals super, super easy. Bye for now, everyone.